let's do the end of the year book tag and see which books I loved, characters I still think about, and some of the disappointing reads that I've had this year. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing the end of the year book tag, and I know that this has been done by so many content creators. I don't know who originally did the end of the year book tag, but I'm going to be going off of Larry Reed's, the list that she had done, because I really liked the questions and the thought process behind everything. So I will have all of the questions linked down below if you want to do this as well. Make sure you always like and subscribe. I am so close to 1,000 subscribers. I would really love for you to join me in my community where we can talk books and just geek out on all of the characters and book boyfriends. Also, make sure that you check my description box below because I do have my normals, my social, my Pango Books account, my Amazon wishlist, and my Bookish Box ambassador link where you get 10% off the entire Bookish Box website. However, there is a new link down below, and starting January 1st, I am going to be hosting a free book club over on Fable, and it is already up and going, so you can come join there if you want to. The link will be down below, and there won't be any spoilers because it is broken down by chapters, so whenever you are reading through the book, you can go to that chapter and just talk to people in there so you don't get spoiled for anything. The first book in January that we are going to be reading is A Kiss of Iron by Claire Sager. It is already up. You can go ahead and join. We will be starting that January 1st, and I hope that you join me over there. And then also my Patreon has a book club in itself. We haven't picked the book yet, but I will be posting a poll there very shortly. I can't wait to see what my Patreon members pick for the month of January. We've had a couple months off, so I'm ready to get back in there. I also am going to be filming a video that will be going up on my Patreon exclusive, where it's going to talk about how I'm revamping my Patreon. All of the fun things we're going to be getting into, and exclusive videos for only Patreon members. So click my link below. Come join me over on Patreon as well. All right, so let's just dive into these questions. So question number 1 is most disappointing book of the year. I had originally put a book on this, but I was like, no, it fits in another question, so you'll see that later on. So I put When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. This has been such a hyped and loved book by so many, but it was so disappointing for me because I didn't like the writing style. I couldn't get into the story. There was something that wasn't vibing, and I was so disappointed in myself because I wanted to be among everybody who has been loving this book. When the Moon Hatched was definitely my most disappointing book of the year. Question number 2 was, what was an underdog book of the year that I had liked? And this one definitely took me a moment to think because there were so many that I could have put on here, but I ended up putting The Serpent and the Wolf by Rebecca Robinson. This book just came out in November. I read an arc of it. I loved this book. I don't see very many people talking about it. I feel like it is very underrated, very much an underdog book, and I hope people start reading it and loving it because it is so good. It has slow burn romance. It has an arranged marriage. It has warring countries. It has so many different things that I could not put this book down as an arc. I wanted to pick up book 2 immediately, so I'm hoping that book 2 comes out fairly soon in 2025 because this book literally took me by storm. Question number 3 was, what was an overhyped book this year? And I will definitely say it didn't come out this year. Maybe it was re-released, but it was Gothicana by Rue Nix. So many people were talking about this book. I read it earlier in the year. I did not like this book. I was ready for the dark academia vibes, the dark romance, the student-teacher relationship, relationship. I was here for it all, and it fell so flat for me. I feel like this book has been way too overhyped. I don't think that this book is for everybody, and I think there are quite a few people across all the platforms that are starting to see that. So to me, I feel like this was way too overhyped and it did not deliver the way that I hoped it would have delivered. Question number 4 was, what was a book that surprised me? And hands down, I didn't even need to think about it. And it is Emmy and the Tudor King by Natalie Murray. Earlier this year, April or May, I read this book because I had put it on my TBR cart. I was like, I've had this book for so long. I need to get it off of there. And this surprised me so much. It definitely filled my Tudor indulgence time frame. It is a time travel historical romance, and it's fantasy. It is so good. If you want something that is YA, doesn't have a lot of spice, but gives you the fantasy romance feels with time travel, and it is set in our current day, and then our girl goes back to like 1580 England or 1570 England. So I highly suggest picking this book up if that intrigues you. Question number 5 is my favorite book couple of the year. This was so hard. Okay, I wanted to list like 10 couples, but I decided to just keep myself to one book per question. So whenever I read book 8, I believe, in the Bloodgrace series, absolutely Mac and Lyros are my absolute favorite couple of the year. I know that this series follows Leo and Cassia, but Mac and Lyros really make this story. You meet them in, I want to say book 2, and then they just stay a recurring main character role, and you get their POVs. I love their romance. I love the representation of them being queer, and I just love everything about Mac and Lyros. I love their banter. I love everything about it. So whenever I saw that question and I had to pick one, hands down, Mac and Lyros from the Bloodgrace series by Vela Roth. Question number 6 was my favorite main characters of the year. Again, I was struggling, so I was like, what one book can I put here? So I decided to pick the duology Hollow and Legend by Karina Halley, and the main characters are Ichabod Crane, Katrina Van Tassel, and Brom Bones. I love all 3 of them. I love their romance, I love their banter, I love their character dynamics, and I loved the story as well. So if you want a Sleepy Hollow retelling that is like super spicy and gets you in those spooky autumnal vibes in September or October, definitely pick up Hollow and Legend by Karina Halley. I loved this so much. Question number 7 was my new favorite author of the year. And again, why are these questions so hard? So I had to go with Briar Boleyn. I read her Queen of Roses series, the 4 books in April and May earlier this year. It's an entire completed series. This is her newest like spin-off series, and it's On Wings of Blood. It has Draco Malfoy vibes, enemies to lovers, dragons, fae, an academy setting. What more could you want out of a book? Briar Boleyn has been delivering this year. I read all 4 books earlier this year, like I said, and then I joined her ARC team and her street team. Got an ARC of this at the end of October. Now book 2 is coming out, which is The Bond That Hurts. It is something like that. It is coming out December 27th. You're probably gonna see this well after it comes out, or maybe before. I don't remember when it's going up in my schedule. I already have the arc of book 2, and I'm so obsessed, and she is just flying through writing this series, and I will not complain. Briar Boleyn definitely delivers on her romantasy by far. Question number 8 is an author that did not work out for me. Sadly, I put Sarah A. Parker on here because I did read book 1 in 2 of her series. I read When the Moon Hatched, and then I read To Bleed a Crystal Bloom. Of course, we've already talked about When the Moon Hatched and why that didn't work out for me. And then when I went to go read To Bleed a Crystal Bloom, it did not work out for me either. I don't know if it's her writing or what it is, but the story itself gave me just the ick really, really bad, and I just couldn't get into it after I knew what we were setting up for. So sadly, I guess I'm not a Sarah A. Parker fan. Question number 9 is, what is the happiest book of this year that I had read? And of course, it has to be nothing like the movies by Lynn Painter. This is book 2. It follows after Better Than the Movies. I had an arc of this, and I went back to read Better Than the Movies because I had never read it. I didn't realize that it was like a continuation. I was kicking my feet. I was giggling. I was smiling at these characters because Better Than the Movies takes place whenever they're in high school, so it is YA, and of course they're neighbors, and you know, they're fighting over a spot and they end up falling in love. And then Nothing Like the Movies is a couple years later whenever they're in college, so they are aged up, so it is a little bit more new adult, but I still loved these characters. I loved the romance, I loved the banter, I loved everything about it, and I smiled throughout this whole book. So it has to be my happiest book of the year. Question number 10 is, what is my saddest book of the year? I didn't even have to think about this because I still remember listening to this audiobook, and at the end I was at home. I had to stop it because I was listening to it at work, and we were getting to the end and I knew it was just gonna get horrible for me. So I waited until I got home, started listening to it with my headphones, and I'm on the couch having just a coffee, and I am sobbing so bad. Like, I wanted to curl up in a fetal position. It was hurting. I loved this book. It was everything to me, and that is A Thousand Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. I wish that I would have vlogged my reaction to the ending of this because you guys would have been laughing, honestly, at me, because I was such a blubbering mess. And the best way that I can describe how I was towards the end, I will link Larry Reed's, her channel, down below. If you go watch her vlog reading this, that was me. 100%. Larry and I both were just in absolute misery, and I think she read this like well before me, but then I didn't even know she had read it. And then whenever I was trying to look up videos of people's reactions to the end of this, I found hers, and I was like, girl, I understand. I really do. I was there with you. And then question number 11 is most frustrating book of the year. This book was actually going to go in the number 1 question spot of the most disappointing book, but then thinking on it and reflecting on it, I'm actually more frustrated than anything, and that is House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. What happened? That's what I want to know. What happened? I'm so frustrated. I, of course, didn't love the Crescent City series as much as I loved Throne of Glass and A Court of Thorns and Roses, but nonetheless, I really loved the world building and I loved some of the other main characters. I just wasn't a Hunt Athalar fan like a lot of people are. This book should have never existed. This book should have been edited. She needed to rework it. I do not agree with where she went with this story. Like, the way that book 2 ended, I had in my mind, and I think a lot of people did, how we were going to be doing the crossover, and what happened with that crossover. I'm just so frustrated. So absolutely, unbelievably frustrated. So, of course, this was a very disappointing read, but at the end of the day, I think I was way more frustrated because she is one of my favorite authors. Question number 12 is the best book adaptation this year. This is always a very hard question for me to answer every single year because I don't watch a whole lot of TV, and when I do watch TV, it's me and my husband, and we'll pick a series and every night as we're eating dinner, we'll watch like one episode. A 20 episode season will take us like 4 months, 5 months to get through. We don't really watch a whole lot of TV. That's just not who we are. But I did watch a TV series on Netflix, and that is My Happy Marriage. I cannot express to you guys enough. If you are a manga reader, read this manga. It is so sweet, so wholesome. It's a fantasy romance. It's obviously not spicy, but it is so good. And then if you don't really want to read manga, but you want to know what the story is about, go watch the season 1 on Netflix, because season 2 is coming out in January, and I'm ready. I have it on my calendar. I wanted to take the day off of work just to binge the whole season, but I didn't. However, this is absolutely beautiful, and after reading the manga, the graphics in here are the same on the show. The storyline is almost verbatim, like word for word, so you don't have to read it before you watch it. So good. Question number 13 was, what was my favorite cover of the year? And I almost skipped over this because I wrote down there's just too many. I have way too many beautiful books, way too many amazing, beautiful covers. So that's my answer. There's so many. Question number 14 is, what book have I not stopped thinking about? And I didn't even have to question myself. Under the Oak Tree by Suji Kim. This was the first print edition. It's absolutely beautiful. I had gotten an arc of this, and originally on NetGalley, I thought this was the graphic novel because it says Under the Oak Tree, the novel volume 1. So I thought, oh, volume 1, it's a graphic novel. And then I found out that it was actually a novel, and I loved this. It is spicy, so definitely know that. However, it is a fantasy romance where a girl is in an arranged marriage. You start out for her on her wedding night, and then her husband ends up going off to war the next day. She thinks that he like abandoned her. So 3 years later, he comes back and he's like, you're coming with me to our home. You should have been there this whole 3 years. And she's scared of him a little bit, but she is going, and then it is their romance. There is miscommunication. They both think differently of each other, and they think that the other person doesn't like them as much, and their romance is so beautiful. This doesn't have a whole lot of like action scenes or anything. It is more like day-to-day living in a castle and getting to know somebody, and a lot of spicy times. But listen, I'm ready for volume 2. I have been ready. I can't stop thinking about this book. Question number 15 is an unpopular book that I loved. I don't know how to define unpopular. Is it everybody doesn't like the book, but I did? Is it just nobody is talking about it, so it's not hyped or popular? I don't know. So I went with a book that isn't talked about enough, that hasn't really made its way around, you know, the booktube circuit yet, and that is Of Shadow and Moonlight by Luna Laurier. Now, granted, I read book 2, Two Ashes and Dust, and then book 1.5, Tipped in Frost and Blood, but I went ahead and just picked up my ARC copy because this is so good. It is a new adult paranormal romance, and it deals with disability rep, deals with gods and goddesses, a different realm, and it just deals with so many things. And I'm gonna tell you right now, you will have a new book boyfriend by the end of this. Damien is literally everything. I can't stop thinking about him, and of course the whole cast of characters. And I will tell you, Two Ashes and Dust shattered me. It broke me. And book 2.5, I think, just came out like last week, and it is He Who Ignites the Flame, I think is what it's called. I already need to get to it. I need to read it immediately. Question number 16 is a book that I thought I would love but didn't, and this one is going to be Book of Azrael by Amber V. Nicole. I have seen so many booktubers and friends of mine that have loved this book, have carried on with the series. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the urban fantasy setting at the beginning. I don't know what it could be, but I just did not get into the story. So I need you guys to leave me comments below. Anybody that has read the Book of Azrael, that has continued on with the series, should I give it another shot? Should I try it again? Because I thought that I would love this. It had everything that I thought that I would love, and I just couldn't connect. So I don't know if it's the writing, the world building, or what. So let me know in the comments below. Should I give this another shot? Question number 17 is book with the most unique concept that I read this year, and that has to be Cloak of the Vampire by Sapper A. Englard. She ended up writing Millennium Wolves on the app Galate. I don't know how you say that, but anyway, I read that whole series on there, loved it, wish that she would make a bind up of it so I can purchase it. But whenever I saw on NetGalley that she came out with a new book, Cloak of the Vampire, I immediately dived right in without even knowing what it was. This is so unique. It deals with a girl who is with her friends at a bar. She sees that her boyfriend is cheating on her with one of her roommates, so she ends up going out to the alley to save one of her friends, ends up being kissed by a vampire. Come to find out, that is how you become a vampire. Now she's in this underworld with them. They have different leagues, I guess is what they call them, and you have different vampires in there, and some people are artists, some people are this, and then you go through this auction where you have to show off your talents, and then these other leaders of these leagues can basically bid on you. And let me tell you, Ragnar Rain, the leader of the league that she is in, he is the one that turned her. Oh my goodness, I need more of Ragnar Rain. I need more of him. Blood of the Gods just came out in November, which was book 2. I am literally stalking the author on Instagram, waiting for her to announce that book 3 is coming out because I need the arc now. I need to read it. I need more of these characters, this world. So unique, and I absolutely loved it. Question number 18 is a book that I read this year that I will reread, and 100% I will be rereading this entire series in preparation of the next book coming out. And that is the Zodiac Queen series by Gemma James. This deals with a different man from the Zodiac. They're around 100-page novellas, and she has them in kind of bind-ups like season 1, 2, 3, and you have 3 men in each book. And it is about a girl who has to go to Zodiac Island and spend a month with each of these men that is in their zodiac sign. They can do whatever they want to her except have sex with her, but they can do other things. It is a romance with her and one of the Zodiac guys. It's like an overarching plot. There's a mystery. It has some high stakes in it. And I've been desperate for the last 3 men to come out. And I know Gemma James as an author was going through some things personally, so I don't blame her for pushing it back. Originally it was going to come out in October, then it was pushed back to December. Now there's no date at all. Don't know when it's going to be coming out, but I will be rereading the first 9 books whenever I know that the last 3 books are coming out. Question number 19 is my Goodreads reflection of my 2024 reading and also my 2025 reading goal. And as of today filming, I am bulk filming because it is right before Christmas and New Year's. I'm going to take the last, week and a half off of the year. So I'm just filming these back to back. You're probably going to see me in the same shirt and everything. But as of today, I have read 201 books this year. Far more than I thought that I was ever going to read. I only put my reading goal at 100 this year, and next year I am just gonna set it at 100 whether I meet it or I don't. But I want to have quality over quantity next year. So that is my goal, is to read a lot more books I will love rather than reading as many as I can. Question number 20 is a book that I wish that I got to this year. And sadly, with my busy season being towards the end of the year and then the holidays, I didn't get to this book, but it is The Songbird and the Heart of Stone by Carissa Broadbent. I am sad because some of the friends that I have that have already read this have said that it's actually disappointing. So that really crushes me, but I still want to read it nonetheless because I loved the Nightborn duet and I can't wait to see Misha and her story arc. So I wish that I would have gotten to it, but it is definitely a priority for next year. And the final question, and that is, what will I prioritize in 2025? Like I was just saying, The Songbird and the Heart of Stone is one of them. Also, my priorities are to get caught caught up or finished almost all of my series that I'm in the middle of. I have way too many. You're going to be seeing a video coming out sometime in the next, few weeks where I go over all the series and I go over series that I've DNF'd and stuff just to get a clean slate for January. And I just want to get caught up to everything that's been published so far, so I'm not behind. All right, everyone, those are all of the questions. Leave me a comment below if you have any thoughts or suggestions for me on any of these questions. And if you do not want to leave a comment, leave a star emoji down below for letting me know that you were here, that you did watch. And like I said, I'm bulk filming tonight, so you're gonna be seeing me in the same outfit for quite a few videos. I am so sorry. But I hope you all have a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate or don't, and also a Happy New Year. And I can't wait to read with you guys on the Fable app or on my Patreon, or both if you want to join on any of those. I will see you all next time. Bye!